We have Jonathan Hacohen with us today, real estate lawyer and now turned author, here to speak about his new book, Bible 3.0, Commandments of the Chosen
The
Life.
6 commandments of the chosen
The
life.
6 commandments.
You want to show off the book?
Yes, this is the book.
There it is, in all its glory.
It's beautiful.
It's like an encyclopedia. It's almost 400 pages.
Who designed the cover?
So the publisher, Awaken Press, who are really awesome. I was really lucky to get connected with them, and they worked me through this process. And I learned how to create a book and write a book and edit a book, etc., and eventually record an audiobook with it. And they have people that they work with that their only job in life is to create book covers. And Lindsay, my publisher, said to me, "I have somebody in mind. I think you'll gel well with him." So I met his name was David M. And David met with me for one session. We spoke for like 5-10 minutes. And he got a flavor for me and what I thought I was looking for and everything. And I said to him, "But I don't want you to put together what you think I want in the cover. Knowing me and knowing what the book's about, you go do your thing." He came back, I think about 2 weeks later or so, with this book cover. This is the exact cover he came up with. I made not even a single tweak to it. I loved every single aspect of it. It was totally not what I expected from a book cover.
Yeah.
And I was enthralled with it. So that's all David M. He saw my vision.
Very cool.
Yeah, even the coloring, everything. It's with the orange and
Yeah.
the blue and the sky. Everything was strategically put there for a reason. I look at it, I feel uplifted. I want to go do something. I feel energized. That's what that book cover is supposed to do.
Amazing. So how did the chosen lawyer become the chosen author?
So the chosen lawyer was always born knowing he was going to be a lawyer. So from the time I was literally born, my family always told me, "You're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a lawyer. That's your role in life. It's going to be a real estate lawyer." So I knew literally at that point I had no choice. And I actually fought it for the longest time. I didn't want to be a lawyer, not because I didn't think I'd be good at it, it's because I didn't want it forced down my throat. I wanted to do something because I wanted to do it. And as I went through life, I realized you got to eventually accept, the universe and the way it is. I had a poster on my wall growing up, and it was from The Godfather Part 3, which was a terrible movie, but it had a great quote on there, and it said, "All the power on earth can't change destiny." And so I was always destined to be a lawyer. The only thing wasn't I was ready to accept it. My mother said to me when I was in about grade 3 or so, I came to her and I told her, "I'm going to write a book one day." I was a very avid reader from the time I was young. I read literally a book a day. So like we'd go to the library, public library, in like kindergarten, grade 1, pick out 7 books on a Saturday, Sunday, read a book a day. And they would quiz me on the books. They'd come back and say, "I can't believe you read it that fast." And they would ask me questions, and I was able to do that. So I was an avid reader, but I always wanted to write a book. I just honestly never thought it was actually going to happen. I was really nervous about it. It was too much of a hill to climb. I didn't think I was good enough. Whatever story I sold myself. And then once I've accepted at the point in my life, okay, I'm too old for this. It's not going to happen. I haven't done it now. I will never do it. Once I reached that point and I just accepted it, then it hit me. Then just literally the book concept hit me in one day, and I went with it. Instead of, being forced to do it or being scared about it, I just said, "You know what? You live once. Let's just do it, and let's have fun with it." And that's where I grew to it. So I think naturally I was actually born to be a lawyer and author. It's just when I was ready to accept it.
Yeah, that's great. And the inspirations behind this book. So you knew that at some point you would be an author, you would write a book. Did you know what it would be about? And how did Bible 3.0 come to be?
There's so many times I started and stopped writing books. It's utterly ridiculous. I was blogging for a long time. So before I was a podcaster, before I was an author, I was a blogger. And I was writing about sports. So what happened? I love baseball. So I was writing about baseball. I built up a giant baseball blog. At one point, I had like 6-7 writers with me. So I was writing my own work. I was editing their work. I was running the site, doing the marketing, every aspect of it. And I burnt out really quick because that's a full-time job or 2 jobs in itself. And that's just not feasible. And before all that, why did I go to blogging is because I started and stopped writing books, and I never found the it factor. Nothing that I loved enough that I said, okay, this is what I want to write a whole book about. The closest I ever came, I was in New Mexico. I was about 17, 18 years old, give or take. I'm always off by a year or so. Went to go visit my uncle in New Mexico, in Taos, New Mexico. Never been there before. And I remember being there, and he was like in the middle of nowhere, literally. I've never seen something like this in my life. I traveled by myself, and I was with him and his wife and their dogs. And I remember sitting out there, and day, night, you not hear a single sound ever. There's like nobody around for miles. And so it's completely clear from a sound perspective. You look up in the sky, there's no pollution, there's no nothing. It's just a blue, blue sky. When nighttime comes, stars are there. And I just felt so in love with that area. And I became so entranced that I started to write. And back then, there was no laptops or anything. There was a pad of paper and a pen. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And I wrote about, I'd like to say 7 or 10 chapters of a book.
Wow.
And I brought it back home, and I thought to myself, okay, let's reread it now. So I left it, and I went back and I reread it. I read it, and I said, this is way too dark. I'm not going here. I ripped it up, and I threw it out. It's funny because even after all these years, I have that story in my head, and I remember it. But the problem was I was only reading Stephen King at this point. It was getting to be very Stephen King-ish. I realized that the influence was too much. And the other thing is about being an artist, I think, and art takes so many forms. People think art is just drawing, it's sculpting. Music is an art form. Writing is an art form. If you're gonna have true art, the only way it's gonna really work for most of us is if we embed ourselves into it. So we are a part of our art. So this book is me. Like, it's an inspirational book. It's a self-improvement. And I don't love the term self-help. I like self-improvement, but it's in the self-help genre, sure, in a spirituality sense, but it's also memoir. So it's almost like when people are buying it, they're reading my diary, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so when I wrote that other book in the Stephen Kingish, it was like what I kind of projected myself in who I was and where I was going. And I was very lost at that point in my life. So it's almost like I was bringing my readers into where I was at that point in my life. And I was kind of at a crossroads. And being at a crossroads, I wasn't ready to write about it. And at the point where I gave up blogging, I went a good 10 years. I didn't write anything other than work-related items. I didn't read anything other than magazines. I had literally writer's block and reader's block. I made this vow to myself. I said, I'm not going to write about life anymore. I'm going to go live life. And I'm going to yoga. So I gave up writing for yoga, and I went on a yoga spiritual journey, and that's where I was at. So ultimately, when this book came, it wasn't about writing where I thought my life should go or writing a fable about it. Now I had practical experience, which now I could share, and that's really how the book was born.
Wow, that's incredible. Such a great story.
It's I look on it and I feel like I'm watching somebody else's life because I don't believe it actually happened. Like I feel like I lived 3 lifetimes. And so ultimately, whether it's my grandchildren or great grandchildren, they never got to meet me. Yeah, they'll see this character on podcasts who interviewed all sorts of wrestlers and baseball players, etc. But if they wanted to know who he really was and where his real thoughts were, that's all there.
How did this awareness come to be?
In what sense, as far as like self-awareness?
Yeah,
or
self-awareness.
Everything begins and ends with me at yoga. So and in my in my book, when I dedicate the book, I dedicate it to my brother first of all, because my brother, finest human being that I know, and a true mensch, gentleman, as a term in our language. And when my dad died, I just turned 11, and my brother's 17 years older than me. And he really raised me like a dad. And my mother was always like my grandmother because of the age gap. My mom was 40 when she had me, and nobody really had babies at 40 back then, And so he was really like my guiding force. But I talk in the book and I said, you brought me from a boy to a man. So he was like Hades and he brought me into the underworld kind of thing. And then the trip stopped. And while he's continuing to be there for me, yoga took me to the next point. Yoga took me from being a man to enlightenment, so to speak. And so going to yoga was really like a cheat. It was a lazy solution because I was physically not well. I didn't look good. I was really heavy. I was at the crossroads professionally and personally. And going to yoga, I thought it was, stretching out, doing these poses and everything and pushing so hard. It was great, and that's what helped me kind of get myself physically fit, which allowed my mind to get sound. And then as my mind is sound, I can then channel that energy to bring my body to be more fit, so they work together. But it was lying there before and after classes in shavasana, the pose where you're dead man, dead woman pose. You're lying flat, your arms are out, eyes are closed. I struggled so much with that because I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. The horrible thoughts were coming and panics and all that. And once I let go of that in Shavasana, that's where everything, the awareness came. That's when I realized this is who you are. This is where you are in life. These are our options in life. You didn't see this road. You didn't see that road. Why are we not pursuing that? Why are we spending time with this person when you should let them go? Why are you doing this for a living? Why don't you go take control of your own destiny? That's when I stopped listening to those devil bad thoughts and I just got cleared. All of a sudden, like my third eye opens and all of a sudden the light comes in and I start to see of where I am at and where I can go. And I start to see those positive thoughts. I see the true potential of who I am. And even now, if I'm not going to yoga frequently enough, I get stuck in ruts. I get down on myself. I'm human. I'll admit this. I wrote this book. People think I'm this spiritual guru, whatever. I'm human still, and I still feel very bad thoughts at times. I get anxiety. I still get anxiety on a daily basis. I fight that. And unfortunately, I only get that in the morning. And I realize through hydration, when I drink my water in the morning, all of a sudden it feels better. And I go to practice yoga. I go to the gym. I feel better. So I'm realizing these things. But awareness, ultimately, for a lot of us, you're going to search for answers in the books. You're going to search for answers in food. You're going to search for answers in traveling. I'm going to go to India, whatever. All of these things are conduits. The answer is not in the book. The book is the conduit to allow you to get to the point where you can be with your own thoughts and start to see the true pictures. And then you can because only you can do it for yourself ultimately. Yeah. Nobody else can do it for you. But if we can open that door and you can see that door and you can go through that door, boom, that's where you're at. So,
and it's not an easy process.
It is a lifelong struggle. I can say I talk about in the 6 Commandments, part of it is the nutrition chapter. And I got to points in the past year where I sold myself, you are lifting really heavy. You need to bulk up. You need to eat like this. So you can eat 6 meals a day. That's okay. Mm-hmm. And I sold myself whatever bill of goods I sold myself. And then I go to take my physical and I'm realizing, oh, guess what? Your cholesterol ain't so great anymore, buddy. And your kidneys, are suffering a bit. And you're on that cusp. And I said to myself, okay, let's go to yoga. I go to yoga. As I'm in yoga, I'm telling myself, you have the formula. You've done it. You know what you did originally. That worked for us 10 years ago. That worked for us 5 years ago. Let's just go back to the formula and let's go to what's tried, trust, and true for us. And let's just make it happen. I start to follow it. I can tell you, I'm sitting here now with you and we're taping this. We are in near the end of March, right? 2024. Mm-hmm. I started this process January 1st. I'm sitting here now, and I weighed myself this morning. I am now 15 pounds down from January 1st. Very, very gradual. Nobody can see it on me. I can feel it because as a male, it's off the waist. All that junk that didn't need to be there is gone. It's redistributed partially in my upper body through workouts, yes. But I'm realizing I'm not carrying the weight I don't need to. I feel unburdened. I feel lighter. I feel happier. My body's responding well. My clothes are fitting better. It all kind of a cycle with it. So trying to pretend we're something we're not doesn't work. And a lot of us try to play characters, and think of what we have to be because people expect that of us or what we expect our parents think of us or our boss or our kids. At some point, we need to be true. This is who we are. This is our strengths. These are our limitations, and embrace that. I'm never going to be 6'5", Diana. I'm not. I'm 5'6". That's the way it goes. Maybe 5'5", And I'm not a natural athlete, and I'm never going to be able to paint beautiful paintings. That's okay. I like to write. I like to talk. Mm-hmm. I like to spend time with people. Mm-hmm. I like to build. I like to help others. That's okay too. So accept what we have, and use those to make better in this world. Ultimately, and that's what it all comes down to at the end of the day. I think a lot of people have to ask themselves, what are we on this earth for? What are we achieving for ourselves? and how are we helping others. And I think especially in this day and age, I think the need to criticize others, make other people feel bad, go on social media, insult others, there's no need for that. Let's let that stuff go. And let's think to ourselves today, every day we wake up, how can we be at our best and how can we make others feel good and help them? Let's all help each other.
Absolutely. I had this conversation with my boys the other day because, they're children, they're 11 and 13, but it's all about them. It's all about, I wake up in the morning, what is mommy and daddy doing for me? Where are we going today? What are you buying me? What are you doing for me? And I asked them, what are you doing for me? Are you going to do the dishes? Are you going to clean your rooms? Are you going to do my laundry? And they looked at me shocked. I'm not doing your laundry. They don't understand that it's about giving. It's not about receiving. And when you give, you receive indirectly. It comes to you. So I really believe in that as well. Without going into all the details of the 6 commandments, can you share a little bit about each?
Absolutely. Foundationally, I wasn't expecting the book to be the 6 commandments of the chosen life. It's funny. We kind of had this kind of discussion back and forth with the publisher because I'm really enthralled with the enlightenment section, And part 3 of the book, where we talk about how to get to that road to enlightenment, that it captivates a lot of people, and I can understand why. And it's the thought is I want to be able to focus on that. I want to set goals. I want to manifest. I want to learn all that sexy stuff. I don't want to focus on the not necessarily unsexy stuff as far as putting in the work and building the systems. But why this book is ultimately called The 6 Commandments of the Chosen Life is because you have to build those systems in order to be able to get yourself ahead. You're not going to be able to go to the road. You can't make it to the road if you don't even have yourself down initially. And so when part 1 of the book talks about how the body, mind, and soul work, we understand we have a body, we have a mind, we have a soul. There's a component for us that we tend to neglect, that soul part. We forget that there's a life energy, a life spirit. We're like, okay, I'm mentally good. I'm taking care of my mind. I'm playing Sudoku, whatever I'm doing. I'm going to the gym. I take care of my body. But what zest for life do you have? What do you want to move? And so the 6 commandments, in their own ways, I talk about there in the book how each affect the body, mind, and soul. So if we're going to go from a starting point really easy, and none of this is new, by the way. I didn't create, new revelations that people don't know exist. The thing is, we know it's there, but do we know it's there so succinctly? And how do we achieve it? So, we talk about, okay, exercise, nutrition, sleep, water. Mm-hmm. Never mind 5 and 6. Those 4 things on its own, right? Mm-hmm. We know they're there. And people say, I know I have to drink more water. I know I need to exercise. I know I should sleep more. Great. Let's get past what we think we need to do and let's actually do it. Let's not say to ourselves, okay, I have to get 8 hours of sleep. Okay, I have to go to the gym 5 days a week. Let's get away from all that. Mm-hmm. Let's look at where we are today. And let's say, I'll give you an example. So we talk about each in one section. Okay, so I'm going to fix now for you those 4 parts of your life, okay? Let's say, for example, Diana, you're going to the gym, none, 0. Okay, from an exercise point of view, right now today, can you make the commitment to go take a 15-minute walk outside? It's a beautiful day, right? It's plus 15 Celsius. It's balmy, right? Today, we're going to take one 15-minute walk that we weren't going to do otherwise. We're going to take our dog, take our boys, and we're going to take one 15-minute walk. Feasible?
Absolutely.
Done. Let's do that again tomorrow and the next day and the next day. We have 24 hours in a day. You're awake for X amount of hours. All you're committing to for this week is 15 minutes a day for walking. Beautiful. Done. So we covered off the exercise. We're already on our road there. Water. Let's say we're drinking 0 water. So we have a big hatred of water and we just want to drink coffee and juice and beer and whatever we want. Okay, I realize you need to have 8 glasses of water. We can all agree whatever the studies show, blah, blah. People like 6 glasses, 10 glasses, 15 glasses, I hear 3 liters, 7 liters. Okay, we got to start somewhere. Okay, we're making the commitment today. We're going to drink 1 glass of water more than we're going to do. You don't have to gulp it down. You can sip it throughout the day, but we're going to fill up our 1 glass, right? 250 mils. Every hour we're going to take a sip out of it. By the end of the day, that water's going to be gone, right? 1 glass of water, 1 cup of water is added to our diet. Beautiful. Finito. Tomorrow, same thing. and we're going to do this indefinitely. So now imagine if that's all we did, those two alone, and we come back after 365 days, and every single day you'd walked 15 minutes, right? And every single day you had one glass of water. What's the accumulation there? It looks like a lot, but it was very, very little to begin.
Yeah.
Sleep. Okay, let's say, for example, you're sleeping 5 hours a day. You think that's all you need, everything else. What if we could promise ourselves we're going to go to bed 15 minutes earlier, half an hour earlier each day? We're going to do all our processes so we can just get to bed a little earlier, maybe put down our phones a little sooner, maybe grab a magazine, grab a book, read one page before bed, whatever it being. Imagine you're able to create a system where simply you're just going to bed a little earlier, you're going to brush your teeth, you're going to create everything set up, and you're going to get an extra 15 minutes to half an hour every single day. We're going to do that for a week as well. Okay? So we covered off so far water, sleep, exercise, nutrition. So let's say you looked at what you ate throughout the day. And one of the things you're saying, okay, I have a guilty habit. I like to eat, let's say, ice cream bars. And let's say every day I love to have 2 ice cream bars. That's my thing. Ice cream bars are my guilty habit. And so every day I got to get those ice cream bars. So I eat pretty well, but that's my guilty pleasure. Okay, let's make the commitment today. We're going to drop one of those ice cream bars. We're not going to add anything into our diet. We're going to find one thing that we're doing and let's lessen it. So now for this week, every day, you're still getting your ice cream bar, just have the one. And let's say you eat them at 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Okay, can we hold off on the 6 p.m. one, maybe have it around 7 or 8, and you're going to train your brain thinking it's still getting it, but instead of the 2, it'll be the 1. And what we've done there, we just removed one thing out of our diet. That's already now the 4 commandments. We've already started the process. That's literally what the book is doing. How do we add a little bit of something good, slowly take away something bad? Once we get those 4 down, that's why I have them in the order of the 6 commandments, because then we're going to work towards yoga, meditation, commandments 5 and 6. Those are the ones that most people struggle with, Diana, the hardest. Refuse to do
I
it.
have personal experience with that. Very challenging for me.
People say near impossible. I don't meditate. I don't practice yoga. It's too hot for me. I can't sit still. My body's not built towards it. Whatever bill is, remember the bill goods that I sold myself on why I can't write a book? I see a book now. This is not 5 pages. This is almost 400 pages. But I can't write a book. But I did. If I can sit and convince myself that I can't write a book, and then I can convince myself that I can, somebody who says I can't meditate, okay, we don't have to make this fancy. We have here walls in this room, right? You don't have to go sit in the middle and struggle. Go lean up against the wall. Sit in whatever comfortable position. Sit there. Set yourself a timer. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And not only that, go put some music on while you're at it too. And go listen to the music and go sing along. I don't care. You've already started the process of meditation there. We're not going to sit for an hour. We're not going to sit in the middle of the room cross-legged without cushions. We can lie down and meditate. We can sit on this chair. Right now, you and I could both sit down together. We could literally sit in this position, sit in silence. We're meditating.
Yeah.
And then in yoga, you know what? You don't want to go to a studio. You don't have a gym membership. You have access to YouTube. Go pop out to YouTube, type in yoga instructional class, whatever be it, and you can practice 10, 15 minutes of yoga. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can get a mat. You can find it on a carpet floor. You don't have to wear a fancy outfit. And you can find ones where it's beginner's yoga, where you're simply doing simple stretches. There's yin yoga, where they do 2 or 3 postures. They show you how to hold the posture. It's almost like just relaxation time. You put a couple of cushions, and you're just lying there, and you're holding one position. That's yoga. That's going to be that simple. So my issue with how society and people tend to do things is we become this all or nothing society.
Correct.
We either go 1,000 or we go 0. If I'm not going to gym 5 days a week, there's no point at all. If I'm not eating freaking perfect, then I won't eat at all. Or I'll eat 0 or I'll eat like garbage. It doesn't matter. We don't have to be so
But it's
extreme.
almost self-sabotaging. We're setting ourselves up
because we don't know
for
that.
failure.
But I don't know if we know. We don't know necessarily what's better, and we don't know how to do it. And this is where I'm saying, how did this book come to be? It's because I didn't know. I went to professionals. I worked with a dietitian, nutritionist. I went to meditation camps. I went to the Buddhist temple. I went to yoga studios. I worked with the finest instructors. I had workshops. I got to understand everything. If you want to build a foundation, it's built slowly. They say Rome wasn't built in a day. It's built stone by stone.
Yeah.
So you want to build these 6 commandments? In there, we create a system where you do it gradual, shift a little bit, take away. And before you know it, 1 or 2 years have passed and you're doing these things, which you need to be doing anyways. All of a sudden, you feel better. You look better. You're more motivated. Now we can open the door and let's take our life to the next level. But we can't do that if we're not equipped. If you and I are not mentally and physically sound, how are we going to go climb a giant mountain? We're going to get burnt out in 2 seconds, right? So you're basically training yourself and doing the practice so you can go climb those mountains, so to speak, in life.
Now, who do you think your book is for? Does someone have to be ready for it? Because it sounds, I know it's not simple, but the concept, from what I'm understanding, it's small actions over time, a little bit every day. But with that, you need to be ready to put in the work. And everyone says that, I want to change. I want to lose weight. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But to sit with yourself and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm ready to do this. Do you think, I guess my question is, do you think everybody has that in them? The ability to be honest with themselves and start this process? Or it's for somebody who's already aware and ready?
The person, okay, which is a great question. The person that is most aware and ready, like for example, where I'm at now, I was ready to write the book. When I read this book, I don't read it that I wrote it. I read it like it's written by somebody else, because I don't remember even writing it, to be honest. I was in such a trance in the zone when I was writing it that the words were flowing through me, that when I read it and I listen to that audiobook version of it, I feel like I'm listening to somebody else, and I have an appreciation for it. And so I separate myself, and I'm like, okay, am I following this? Am I doing this? That's a very easy market to say. The people that are going to the yoga studio, the people that are meditating, people that are attending temples and synagogues and churches and are religiously aware, no doubt they're going to have a great appreciation for this book. No matter what denomination you are, even though I'm a Jubu, this is not for Jubus. This is not for Jews, Buddhists. This is for everybody. No matter what you are, I heavily encourage you, and in the book I talk about a lot, is find your zest for life, certainly. I think about 2 extremes right now. So easy-wise, my son, 18 years old, Jeremiah, and I look at him and we talk about it, and he's heard the book 1,000 times. I have it playing in the background and everything else. And I look at him, and he's at the point now, he drinks about 10 bottles of water, so the 500 mils. And so for somebody who was not drinking water, he goes to his gym about 3-4 times a week, he's on a food schedule and everything else. And it's funny because he fought me on it forever. And he was telling me, like, you're crazy. You should, you're so extreme and nobody does that, blah, blah. And eventually, when he started doing his own research and everything and realized what I was doing, and all of a sudden he starts asking me questions, he started having more an appreciation for what that book is, And I think to myself, Lord, if I was Jeremiah's age and at 18 years old, somebody had given me this book and could have shown me the road and I could have followed these things instead of starting it in my 30s and 40s, I could have been so much more ahead of the game. And so I think that kids in high school, grade school, when I think of myself in grade 5 and I was eating grilled cheese sandwiches and drinking Slurpees, and drinking fruit juice, if parents reading this book can come and talk about these concepts with their kids and start them off early with a foundation, talk about yoga in grade school, they do them in prison, so why not bring it to the school system?
Yeah.
Kids learning yoga earlier in life, it's setting such a good foundation for them. They're calmer, they're happier, they're more focused. To an extreme where my mother, who's 87 years old, and she's reading the book and she's telling me, I'm not your target audience for this because, like, I'm done. I'm just on borrowed time now and I'm just going to do what I'm doing. But yet she comes back to me and says, you know what? I made a couple tweaks in my life. I thought about what you said, and you know what? I took a couple of things away from my diet and I decided to do a little more walking today. And that's where I'm saying, you know what, Diana, it's never too early to get started on a good foundation, and it's never too late to change.
Yeah.
As long as you're alive and you have breath in your body, and not everybody can read, and I granted, not everybody has the ability or the will to read, pop in the audiobook. Listen to it, Reach out to me as an author. If you don't have the means financially, I'll get you a copy of the book.
Yeah.
This is not about making money. It's about helping others. And so most are those people that are at the crossroads in life that don't have the systems, feel, okay, I'm too heavy, I'm too slow, I'm too old, I'm in a dead-end job, I don't have education, whatever it is. Those are the ones that you think are the most not target audience. They're the ones that need it the most. This is the lifeline. That's why it's called the Bible.
Yeah. And it's amazing because it brings you through it one step at a time. Because, like you said, everything is interconnected. So when one aspect of the mind, body, soul is off, it's all off. And so it can become overwhelming. I have been there in my life where you just don't know where to start, completely helpless. But you pick up this book, chapter 1, you start to read, and you have a guide.
Metaphor-wise, LeBron James.
Okay.
You could take LeBron James. LeBron
Yes.
James, greatest athlete potentially of all time, right? Two things. Number one, LeBron James spends over $1 million a year just on his body. Okay? Between all the chambers he uses, his nutritionist, dietitian, chefs, his coaches, everything else, in the practice schedules, meditation, everything he does. He has been genetically engineered for near perfection. Okay? The man is not a spring chicken anymore, and he can still beat almost anybody on the court at any point. That's number one. Number two, he is one of the greatest knowledgeable of basketball, and he has coaches. So he's not above coaching. He's not above assistants. You think of Roger Federer, greatest tennis player of all time, potentially. He has coaches. And that's where I tell people, no matter where we're at, I wrote a book, I need coaches. When I go to the gym, I have a personal trainer. When I go to yoga, I have my class and my teachers. When I am cooking, I am reading articles. I am watching YouTube videos. I'm getting instructed. None of us are above, no matter where we're at in life. We need that little push. We need that little assistance. So this is where I'm coming to everybody and saying, hey, you might be really good with exercise, nutrition. Great. If you're reading those chapters and you're reaffirming it, fantastic. There's no harm in that. But you may find one little tweak, or you may find roads. None of us are perfect, Diana. The truth is, again, remember we came back to the whole idea we have strengths and we have limitations, right? Yeah. I have more limitations than I have strengths, and I'm honest with myself about that. Why I got to the point is God did not give me a lot of abilities in a lot of areas, but he gave me hard work and determination. And people need to know, no matter what limitation you have, then work twice as hard, 3 times as hard. But any little thing you do to make a slight shift is better than what you were doing yesterday. I don't need to be LeBron James of basketball. I will never be LeBron James of basketball. Let's be quite frank with it. When I was growing up, who did I want to be when I grew up? I didn't want to be Stephen King. I didn't want to be an author. I wanted to be Mr. T. That's who I wanted to be. I wanted to be a big African-American guy with the mohawk and gold chains.
The earrings.
And I didn't really notice or worry about the earring part, but maybe I could have pulled that off. And I wanted to be a boxer, and I wanted to be on the A-team, and that's what I wanted to be. And at some point in life, I realized I'm not going to be Mr. T, obviously. I don't look like him. I don't have his strengths and everything else. But one of the things I took away from him was we can all channel our inner Mr. T because he has a passion for life, that zest, that soul. So in a lot of what I do, I tell myself, like when I'm lifting weights, for example, I need to push that last rep. What would Mr. T do right now? Mr. T wouldn't give up. Mr. T would pity the fool, and he would push through. And that's what we got to do. So in life, sometimes when you think you're down, channel your inner Mr. T.
You know who should have been on the back cover? Mr. T. That would have been great.
I still hope to meet him one day. I had the opportunity. He appeared at the Toys R Us when they first opened when I was very young.
Wow.
And my dad said to me he was going to take me. And I came to him every hour. I said, we're going to go see Mr. T now. And he's like, we'll go soon, we'll go soon, we'll go soon. We never went. And I never got to meet Mr. T.
We should find a way to make that happen.
Well, Mr. T, if you're watching this, buddy, I was pushing for you to be in Creed 3 because I thought that it was the way the progression was that Mr. T's son should come and face, but they decided not to go with Mr. T, and they didn't listen to me.
We're going to have to see what we can do,
Yeah.
what TFN can do. Where can we buy this book?
Great question.
And so you also just came out with the audiobook. Where can we listen to that?
So the book is available as the physical book as you see here. We have our ebook. So for those people that love to read it on Kindle and iPads, etc., it's available. And there's the audiobook, which just recently launched, and really, really proud of that audiobook for the amount of work and everything else that went into it. And I would tell people, if you are not a fan of audiobooks and that's not for you, it's not your style, this ain't your mama's and papa's audiobook. It's very different because there's a lot of music embedded into it. My music producer, who's a musician himself, he's been in rock bands and won Junos, and he's just a fantastic
It's
human
so
being.
cool.
I went with not an audiobook person, I went with a music person. So that's where you can hear the crispness of the volume and everything else. I narrated it as well as writing this book, so my voice is in there. And believe it or not, reading off of paper is a lot harder than writing it. So I think the audiobook was even more challenging than the written book. So it's available on Audible, it's available on Apple Music, everywhere you purchase books. If you're in the States, Barnes and Noble. If you're in Canada, Indigo, indigo.ca, Amazon across the world, independent
Amazing.
bookshops around the world, UK, Australia, we're one of the first to stock it. Um, Whatever your format is, go for it. And I've had people that purchased the physical book, then went and downloaded the audiobook and told me they have a different appreciation from the audio side of it. But easiest, just type in amazon.ca, indigo.ca, go to Barnes& and Noble, Jonathan Hacohen, the Bible 3.0, hit the purchase, and you meet me. I will be happy to sign it as I'm going to be signing
Yay.
your
I want to
book.
get my book signed.
I promise I will. I'm going to be doing a Barnes and Noble tour in, I believe it's September, they told me, and I'm going to be in Arizona, potentially looking
This
at
is
some
incredible.
indigos. It's neat because I love that aspect of it. I love building relationships, and I'm most intrigued with hearing people's stories because I'm sharing my stories, but my purpose is not to tell you about me. It's for you to read and reflect on yourself. And I want you to think about your stories. And may my stories bring out your stories to yourself. And when you meet me, I want to hear your stories.
I love that. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you for sharing some insights in the book. I have the book. Highly recommend that everybody gets the book and starts to read it one chapter at a time.
Did you
Thank
notice the
you.
cover that's nice and soft?
It is. It really is nice and
We
soft.
actually picked a purposeful, like a nice feel to it. So it's like a hardcover, but a soft cover. It's a nice feel. Went with stronger paper, beautiful color, crispness. Every single thought was put into it. It wasn't like, okay, let's skimp on costs and everything else. Like the printing cost is insane on a book when you go this high end. But I said I wanted the best quality book. I want this to last a lifetime. I wanted something that people can pass to their children and it's there for generations to come. So when I'm off this earth and people read this thing in 150 years from now, it's still timeless that way. So the way I prepare this book, I tell people everything you do in life, do it with purpose. If you have a chance, always go higher end, always make it the best you can
Yeah,
with it, and take pride in what you do.
absolutely. It's also well laid out as well.
My publisher is amazing.
Easy to read and to follow.
Yeah, they're really, really great with this. And this is where, if you want to get something done, you want to get it done right, don't do it yourself. Find the right people, surround yourself with the right
Yes.
people. I was very fortunate to come in with the Awakened Press. The amount of love they believed in this book. The second by the way, I think that I still marvel at the idea that when I didn't come and pitch a book idea, I came. I said, I met you before at a book launch party. Do you remember me? Can you give me some tips? I'm a new author. I just want to know if I'm going in the right direction. That's all I asked for. They came back to me a couple weeks later, so maybe it was a week later, and said, "We love this. We want to sign you immediately." And I didn't come to them with a finished product. I came to them with a list of chapters and 10 pages. That's
Wow.
it.
Wow.
And you think I'd be excited over the moon?
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you effing crazy? Are you seriously going to go on a book for 10 pages? And I was like, something's got to be wrong here. This ain't right.
Yeah.
But they so believed in me and they believed in the concept from day one. And I'm so fortunate the universe brought me together with Lindsay and the Awaken Press and the editing team. And they brought the best out of me. You know, ultimately, I know this is me and I'm fortunate for it. But if I went and wrote a book in isolation, it's one thing. It's every time I wrote a chapter and they came back and had questions and comments and sometimes sent me back to the drawing board, they made me look in the mirror and bring out the best in myself and took care of those kind of details like the book cover, the spacing, all the little details which you think, you know, aren't a big deal.
Yeah.
Everything is a big deal,
Yeah.
certainly. And so from beginning to end, this is a team effort. So from Awaken Press, Ron Lopata, my audio producer, to me, this really feels like a team effort at the end of the day. So this is all our baby. So and now it's birthed into the world for everybody to see.
Congratulations, Jonathan.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank
And, to reach me out on social media, you can reach me at Chosen Lawyer. The book has its own Instagram account as well, The Bible 3.0. And I encourage people, please leave your questions, leave your comments. If you enjoy the book, please go on Amazon. Feel free to leave a book review. Book reviews really, really help people.
Yeah.
And I'm very interactive, and I'd love to hear your questions, comments, and I'm here for you. We're all in this together. So let's make this book interactive, and let's use it to help people and help society in general.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this into the world and sharing it with us.
God bless.